guys, it's Reagan, and today I'm going to be filming the top 15 books I want to read in 2015. So I recently just uploaded my bookish resolutions for the year 2015, and one of my resolutions is to read the books I want to read. And so I took a gander at my bookshelf and kind of picked the books that I would be most pleased to finally get to in the year of 2015. So let's go ahead and get started. The first book I really want to get to in the year 2015 is Crown of Embers by Rae Carson. This is the second book to the Girl with Fire and Thorns young adult fantasy trilogy. I really enjoyed the first one, and I've been putting off continuing for so long, and it's getting ridiculous, and I've heard great things, so I really need continue on, people. Next on the list is a hunker, and it is The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson. This is the first book to Brandon Sanderson's epic adult fantasy series, and it's huge, which is probably the main reason why I've been putting it off, but I really want to get to this year because one, it's going to be a series that I'm probably going to be reading for a very long time, as it's going to be like 10 books, but people say that this book series already is better than Mistborn, which is just something that blows my mind because Mistborn is tops. I have no idea what this is about because I'm sure it's way too complicated to explain in a few sentences, because look at it. This book I want to get to this year is Between Shades of Grey by Rita Sepetys. Now this is a young adult historical fiction book. I believe that's centered around a genocide in the Balkans during the Second World War. I've been reading a lot of historical fiction lately, but mostly adult, so I kind of want to venture back into the realm of young adult serious historical fiction to kind of, you know, see what's up in there, and I've owned this book for a pretty long time, and so it's time to get to it. Next on the list is The Blown Clocks by David Mitchell. Now, David Mitchell is a world famous author, and I want to read so many of his books, but I refuse to let myself buy any until I read this one because I own this one. This book was longlisted for the Man Booker for last year, and it supposedly blows your mind in many of ways. Again, I don't really know what this is about. I'm sure it deals with parallel worlds or the intersecting of people's lives in sort of a David Mitchell fashion. Plus, so many of my friends have read this book and raved about it that it just needs to happen. Next on the list is The Crane Wife by Patrick Ness. I've mentioned this book so many times recently, but Patrick Ness, I haven't read it yet. I need to resolve it. Gonna resolve it. Next we have The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. Now this is one of the most highly acclaimed high fantasy novels in recent years. One of the main reasons why I want to read this is it's actually one of my brother's favorite fantasy series, and he's actually been pushing me to read this book series for years, so I finally will appease him and do so. Next on the list is A Storm of Swords by George R. R. Martin. I've already started this. I started this in December, but I've yet to continue to pick it up. This is the third book in the Song of Ice and Fire series by Mr. George, and I just want to keep trucking along on this series in the new year. And I really want to read this so I can finally watch the TV show. Next on my list is Dreams of Gods and Monsters by Laini Taylor, which is the concluding novel to the Daughter of Smoke and Bone trilogy by Laini Taylor. I loved the first two books of this trilogy, and I'm sure it would have made my top 14 of 2014, but I didn't finish it, which is so silly. I've been anticipating this book for so long, and it's just been sitting there staring at me, and I haven't read it. It's so dumb. I need to read it. And this is a young adult high fantasy, urban fantasy series that's just so beautifully written. I can't even deal with Laini Taylor sometimes. Next on the list is probably going to be a surprise for a few of you, and that is The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. This is the prequel novellas to the Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas. I haven't read it. This is one of those situations where I've been saving it for the day where I can't find anything to read on my bookshelf, and I just want to read Sarah J. Maas, and then I'll have it there. But I've decided that this is the year that I'm finally going to read this because I feel like it has vital information that I should have and understand for the later parts of the series, because I just need to know what's happening. And plus I love Throne of Glass and Sarah J. Maas so much, so. Next on my list is The Narrow Road to the Deep North by Richard Flanagan. This won the Man Booker in the year 2014, and it is a historical fiction novel following an Australian man in the POW camp during World War II. As many of you know, I love World War II historical fiction novels, and I'm sure this will be wonderful. And also Katrina from Little Book Owl gave an amazing review on this novel, so it needs to be read. It needs to be digested by my face Next we have Ancillary Justice by Ann Leakey. Something like that. This was a gift to me by my good friend Max over at Well Done Books, and this is a science fiction novel that has a very intriguing premise. If I'm understanding correctly, every character in this novel uses the female gender identification. It might not necessarily mean they are in fact female, but everyone is referred to as a she or a her, I think, which just sounds interesting. So and this also won the Hugo Award, so I'm very much inclined to read this year. Okay. So on my list is The Last Sacrifice by Rochelle Mead, because holy crap, it has been 3 years and I still haven't read the final book to this series, and that is ridiculous. And I want to read Bloodlines. I want to start it, but I can't until I read this last book. It's so ugly. I hate this cover so much. Next on my list is Rebel Angels by Libba Bray. This is the second book to the Gemma Doyle paranormal historical fiction trilogy. I read the first book over maybe like a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years ago, and I really enjoyed it. I love Libba Bray's writing and how she tells stories, so I just need to continue on because I'm sure I will greatly enjoy it because Libba Bray is bae. And the last 2 books on my list are new and have not been hauled yet, so spoilers, don't tell anyone, okay? The first one is The Miniaturist by, I have no idea, Jessie Burton. And I've actually started this book in the bookstore, which made me inclined to buy it, and I loved how it was written. This is set in Amsterdam, and it follows a young girl who I believe gets a really tiny miniature of her house that she lives in, and then this like miniature kind of starts to reflect her life, and they sort of start to go together. I hear this book is both fantastic and also super sad, but you know, it's gonna happen. And last on my list is Station 11 by Emily St. John Mandel. This book just sounds so freaking cool. It is a post-apocalyptic novel where basically the world ends in the middle of a performance of King Lear, and we follow a theater troupe just living their life after the world ended, which just sounds so cool. Just to continue to repeat myself over and over again, I've heard really great things about this, so I really want to pick it up. Alright guys, those are the top 15 books I want to get to in the year 2015. Let me know down below some books you really want to get to this year, and I will see you guys soon with another video soon. Goodbye!